Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Preservation Resource Center's Shotgun House Tour presented by Entablature Design Build and Entablature Realty. We are so happy to have everyone here today for this installment of this tour. I see in the audience a bunch of people who I know have come to Shotgun House Tour before. Maybe you've been coming while we've been doing this virtually, but we've been so excited to have such a wonderful audience for the PRC's first ever virtual home tour. So as many of you know, Shotgun House Tour is one of the Preservation Resource Center's signature fundraisers every year. And due to the pandemic, of course, like everyone else, we've had to either cancel or postpone all of our spring events. So we are really excited that we've been able to pull this together to do an online format for this so that everyone who is socially distancing and staying home is able to still explore and appreciate our incredible New Orleans architecture, and in particular shotgun houses, because we are so dedicated to getting everyone out there to understand shotgun houses and just see how beautiful they can be and how many ways they can be remodeled, reused, and given a new life time and time again. I want to quickly thank our sponsors. We couldn't do this tour without the sponsors, and so we are so grateful not only to Entablature Design Build and Entablature Realty, but also our tour chairs with the Graham-Bell Parker Group of Ladder and Bloom have been instrumental in getting this tour put together, rethinking it as we've gone virtual, and they have been such an incredible help. Thank you also to Louisiane Tea. The ready-to-drink sweet tea is sort of the official drink of the Shotgun House Tour, and we are so grateful to Louisiane for supporting this tour for a few years now. There's nothing like sitting on your Shotgun House Tour stoop or porch and drinking sweet tea. It's such a great New Orleans experience. And Louisiane has been gracious enough to share some cocktail recipes with us throughout the summer. So please be checking our Instagram for those cocktail recipes. Today they sent a green tea rose cocktail that is fantastic. It looks delicious. You can check our Instagram for that, and there'll be a different one each week. And I'll show you a video in just a second of how to make another different cocktail with them. Also, thank you to New Orleans Architecture Tours, Zangara and Partners, Hamilton Brothers Construction LLC, iMoto, Shack of Homa, Southern Animal Foundation, Albert Architecture, Audubon Title Insurance Agency, Crescent Title, Margaret Stewart, Sarah and Doug Stokes, Atomic Architecture, Cypress Building Conservation, Orient Express, and Weeda Loudamy with Hill Riddle Jr. and Associates. Thank you really to all of our sponsors for making this possible. I also want to quickly shout out Hancock Whitney. Not only are they a sponsor of the Shotgun House Tour, but they are also a sponsor of the Preservation Resource Center's Revival Grant Program. We are so grateful to Hancock Whitney for coming on in support of that program. For those of you that don't know, the Revival Grant Program is a grant-making program where the PRC is able to provide critical home repairs for low to moderate income homeowners in full control historic districts to bring their homes into compliance with the HDLC. We piloted that program in the past year in the Tremaine neighborhood. And we have had an amazing experience working with homeowners in that neighborhood on their historic homes to make sure that they are able to stay in those homes and to benefit from living in a historic house, because we really believe that preservation is for everyone, and the Preservation Resource Center is dedicated to making sure that preservation is a powerful force in New Orleans for a long time to come and for all of our residents. So thank you, Hancock Whitney, for that. I would also like to mention that today's Shotgun House Tour spot is partly dedicated to the small local businesses that make New Orleans and historic New Orleans so special. So you guys know we're going to be at CR Coffee on Magazine Street, and we're going to learn a ton about that. But there are so many businesses along Magazine Street and throughout so many commercial corridors and historic neighborhoods in New Orleans that are part of our historic character. And the Preservation Resource Center is so lucky to work with so many of the small businesses around town and restaurants. They support us and we want to support them right back. So this month, Ralph's on the Park is spotlighting the Preservation Resource Center through their Cocktail for a Cause. So if anyone is able to go to Ralph's on the Park and purchase the Summer Smash, which is a lovely cocktail made with vodka, mint, lemon, lime, and ginger beer, 20% of the proceeds from the sale of that cocktail will go to the PRC. Ralph's on the Park has been an incredible supporter of the Preservation Resource Center. The Ralph Brennan Restaurant Group is a wonderful friend of the PRC, and this is such a kind gift of them to be able to give that back to us. I would also like to just shout out Rosie's on the Roof. Thank you to our friends at the Higgins Hotel at the World War II Museum. They have offered a wonderful 20% off coupon to Rosie's on the Roof, which is their new open air rooftop restaurant. So if anyone is interested in getting that 20% off coupon, it's available for anyone who is attending today's program with us, and you can email prc@prcno.org. I would like to also just sort of mention some of the PRC's wonderful marketing and merchandise availability. So we are also, not only are we fundraising through this tour, we have merchandise available, so we would love for you to support us. You can donate to the tour by visiting prcno.org. We're asking for a $25 donation for the Shotgun House Tour for attendees. That is what the ticket would have cost. So please consider supporting us in that way. In addition, I just want to share some of our incredible merchandise with you. For those of you that haven't seen it yet, the Preservation Resource Center put out a coffee table book last year, Building on the Past. It's not only beautiful, but a wonderful way to learn about the preservation of New Orleans through the incredible buildings and iconic buildings that make it so special. We also have a wonderful, timely accessory. So we have our new face masks available. They're $15 on our website. Please consider checking them out. They're very cool. It's a really nice way to show off your love of historic buildings and the Preservation Resource Center, so you can get out and hopefully be supporting some of these wonderful local businesses safely. So before we get started, I don't want to hold this up too much. I want to quickly show you guys one more cocktail. We want you guys to be enjoying yourselves. So I'm going to show you this drink from Louisiana before we get started. Okay, everyone, I don't want to hold this up too much. I know you're all excited to see the coffee shop and learn a little bit more about how this small business is going about their business during the pandemic. But quickly, for those of you who are watching in Zoom, your mic and camera are disabled, but we would still love to hear from you. We definitely want to be taking questions, and I will be reading them to Kevin at CR Coffee so that he can tell you a little bit more and provide you any information that you'd like. You can type your questions into the Q&A button. If you have any technical issues, put them in the chat. I will be monitoring that, and we'll make sure that I take care of that if I can. If you're watching on Facebook and do have questions, you are welcome to type them in. We are sometimes able to see them and get them to the host, but if you are interested in asking questions for next week, the best way is to register for the Zoom, and you can do that at prcno.org. So let us know if you have any questions about anything. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Kevin Padau, who is the proprietor of CR Coffee and Coast Roast Coffee. He is an incredible friend of the PRC, a longtime friend of the PRC. And he is going to show us around his Magazine Street location, tell us a little bit about his business, how business is on Magazine Street, and also why he loves shotgun houses. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you much. It's such a super honor to be a part of the Shotgun Home Tour. especially since, I mean, I have a shotgun home, but not this one. This is not my business, obviously. Definitely turning the shotgun house into a business.
Kevin, the audio is a little bit off. If you could go closer to the building and the Wi-Fi, I think it would pick up better again.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's head that way. Yeah, perfect. So we basically took a big part of the outdoor area and made a patio, which was done, sort of prior to the COVID thing, and it's definitely been a great place for people to be. It's been a pandemic situation. You have a big outdoor patio. So outdoor patio is super awesome. And then we've been playing around, I guess, 2 stories here. There's the pre-COVID situation, and then there's the, like the post-COVID thing. But basically, shotgun. So the front porch, which is just, an awesome place to sit and have coffee, like you were talking about before. We were building it up, and I was meeting with plumbers and electricians and whatnot. I always found myself, we were always standing up here on the front porch. And this particular location is, we're kind of catty corner from Harry's, this there over there. Catty corner from Cavan, Lilette's on our corner here. We got Wedding Bells and Bridal Bliss over here.
Kevin, you're still freezing up a little bit.
We're just a few blocks from Louisiana. Is it better now, or?
Barely. We might want to step inside and sort of talk about things from in there. I'm hoping that it picks up again.
Okay. Cool. Of course, all of our tests were perfect, So definitely, so the front porch was really pretty cool because we were able to turn that into a bar and seating area. And so if you're, like I said, you can go jump on Google Maps and 3618 magazine, and this is the bottom of sort of the crescent of magazine. So when you're sitting up on the front porch, you don't notice it too much, but the street kind of curves a little bit this way. We're on the riverside of the street. And so you're sitting up on the front porch, you kind of watch everyone walking and moving and kind of like, it's a great spot to hang out. It's one of my favorite spots. And the fun part too, since the COVID thing, we've got a great outdoor space that's over here, great outdoor space that's over here, great outdoor space that's over there. So it's very, they're different. I wanted to do it because I wanted it to be cozy. I wanted it to kind of like just be a right place so you can grab a cup of coffee and find your little note and like grab a book. That was like the idea. Now, of course, you're trying to get away from people. It's the perfect spot. Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on with the Wi-Fi, and you're right. All of our tests were crystal clear, but it's really breaking up a lot for me. I'm not sure if changing location would help, or what we can do to go back to the way it was before.
Yeah, let's see. I don't know what's called. We're gonna sit. I'll sit down at the table here. Hold on. How are y'all? Are y'all okay right now?
That seems a lot better.
Okay. Maybe we'll hang out here for a while, and then we'll maybe jump through. Maybe you'll get back up and we can check it. Behind me here, we have is the coffee bar. So the first room is seating. Obviously, right now we're not doing a lot of seating. Tables and contact tracing. But we've also turned it into a retail center. So all of our coffees, those coffees that are there. How's that? Is that all good, or are we all cracking up?
No, it's still breaking up a lot. I don't know if you want to.
Can I try to reconnect?
Yeah, let's try that. I think there's also I think. Yeah, I thought that staying still was going to help this a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be necessarily. If your camera person has a phone and can maybe try to connect separately with it, we can still talk a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Let me see.
Everyone out there, I'm sorry. This is one of the things about virtual programming. It doesn't matter how many tests you do, something can change about the environment on a whim, and then here we are. So thank you for your patience, everyone. My sincere apologies about this. I promise we tested this multiple times, and the Wi-Fi was working perfectly 20 minutes ago. So
yeah, it was awesome. Okay, let's see. All right.
and it seems like it's working now. Okay, fine, of course.
Is that good? Are we good? Should we keep
It
going?
seems good for now, so let's try to do this, and if it gets jumpy again, I'll let you know.
All right, perfect. That sounds good. Okay, so this is the bar room, and right beyond here. So basically what you would do is you'd walk in the front door, and we have a line on the floor, so we're only letting one person into the bar room at any one given time. So we kind of set up a little retail center in here. Also, some of the stuff we use coffee roasters. I've got a picture of that up on the wall, and also I've got like an antique coffee spittoon in here from an old coffee company. I've got a lot of different old antique coffee stuff that came out of various coffee roasting companies here in New Orleans for quite some time. So it's pretty cool. Almost like a little miniature antique coffee museum here in the shop, which is kind of fun while you're hanging out and waiting for your coffee. So the bar room, you just kind of walk in and walk, once the customer leaves, we have a back door. So one customer will roll out the back door, out onto the patio and down the ramp that you saw earlier. And the next customer can come into that bar room. So you're only ever in the bar room with one person at a time. So that's pretty neat. We've been able to really do it for social distancing. The cool part is that it's a shotgun, right? So it's separate rooms. So this room is the seating room. The other room is the bar room. We didn't open it up. We didn't kind of open floor plan. We kind of let it be its own thing. When we renovated it, it was definitely a thought to open it up and put a traditional bar in and have it all in one room. But really now I'm very glad because we're able to keep people away from the baristas, and we're able to keep people separated in different rooms. So it actually worked out like super well. So, but it's also we've kind of like played around with an online ordering website, so you can go to crcoffeenola.com and actually order your drink, and we've got a shelf set up on the outside the back of the outside the back door. So you can come in, you can order online, and you don't even have to walk through the place. You can just grab coffee out the back door, through the patio and out the back door. So it's really, the shotgun has actually been working out pretty well. This shotgun, when I first got involved with, was totally down to the studs. It had been several businesses, a magazine in the past. Which is cool because we're able to really kind of get in and run.
Kevin,
yes,
it's breaking up again. You sound like you're auto-tuned.
Okay.
You want to try the phone and see if that works?
Yeah, let's try the phone. That sounds good. Okay. All right.
So while he works on that, and I've had the opportunity to talk to Kevin about this topic, obviously in our preparation for this. It is super cool when you go to CR Coffee now, the way that you flow through the space, and the way that it has been kept as a shotgun. You can really sort of feel how that functions, particularly in this particular climate. And I had been to CR Coffee prior to all of this and didn't really think about that flow, but obviously it sort of took on a new meaning in the past couple of months. Kevin, it already looks a little bit clearer, so fingers crossed.
Were you able to jump to the phone?
Yep, we can see you on the phone, and it definitely sounds clearer so far.
Okay, cool. Well, let's try to move around. Let's try to move around about and see what happens. So yeah, this is because I do want to show you the bar room. So let's come this way and check it out. We have some customers in here like this. But, and if we want to kind of like, so tables that we would have set up for seating, we've kind of turned into a retail setup. This is the old antique machine that I was referencing earlier. It's up here. And then I want to go that way, but we don't have it there. It's still there. So, oh, but Serena, are you muted right now?
Yep, I'm muted.
Oh, okay, you're muted. Okay, cool. All right. So, and then, like, throughout I wish I known there was a customer in there and I held up. Again, we've kind of, so, yeah, we've got, again, sort of our whole, like, retail setup. When you walk in, you can come up to the register. We've got our signage here. The cool thing also about doing the business in the shotgun is that we were able to kind of get up underneath the building. It made putting in plumbing and stuff a whole lot cheaper than it would have been otherwise. So, and then again, I'll reference this up here. This is one of the other cool things. This came out of a green coffee company, a raw coffee company in New Orleans. It's an old antique sifters, so it can sift different coffees for different sizes, for different grades. So anyway, it's one of the like fun little things that are around the shop all the time. And then, you know, we were able to just kind of like redo the floor, so it has kind of all of its original like floor charm for sure. And then back up this way is like kind of like in the back door is like I was saying, we have the online ordering pick up right here, and then this is the back patio that people can enjoy. This way. Yeah. So, and then, you know, we've got, you know, we're really trying to keep it to like our product offering as just like a straight coffee shop. It's definitely, we've got some local purveyors that make some various different stuff for us. Randazzo's make some stuff for us, Nucio's. We're also, we've got Evermore Water. We've got, we've been doing a ton of masks, which has been fun. You know, this particular time. Of course, you know, we always have our fresh roasted coffee available all the time, and we have our new Lanyap iced tea box that you can grab and bring back to brew at home and whatnot. So we've been just trying to kind of diversify our product offering and really just kind of, you know, see what, you know, kind of works during this particular time. So.
Kevin, can you tell us a little bit more? You were saying how you redid the floors, and you mentioned intentionally keeping the shotgun flow when you did the renovation, sort of keeping the separation of the rooms. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the building looked like before you moved in and what the renovation process was like?
Yeah, sure. So we definitely when I got started with it, it was like fully down the studs and just totally, you know, tore up. So we came in and really, you know, was looking at opening it up and how to make the flow right and how to change it. And of course, you know, you know this, but I got one of my first house was a PRC house redo, shotgun house. We currently live in a double shotgun that we renovated. It's a single now. So we're like very. I'm about. We added when we redid our shotgun house, we added walls into it. So I'm sort of like about it. So we kind of like let's leave it the way it is. Let's leave it in a shotgun form. So instead of trying to open it up, let's just work with it. Let's put the wall, because they had actually tore out the studs and stuff for the wall between the fireplace. I'm like, let's put it back in. Let's let it kind of like be itself. So we put the wall back in, and of course, like, you know, the architect that was working on it was like fighting me on it. And I'm like, we can put a camera up in the ceiling and the baristas can see what's going on in here. They don't need a line of sight vision anymore. So there was a few little things like that. Like, you know, we don't necessarily want customers like us not to be able to see everything that's going on, but we've kind of like used the technology, the camera system, so that way when the barista's behind the counter, they can see everything that's happening throughout the shop. So and at that point when we put the bar in across the front, we had to just kind of like build a fake wall. But again, it was great because we can run all of the power and the all of the plumbing and all the electrical. It was so easy, as opposed to if we wanted to move a sink or something, we could make that adjustment on the fly. We didn't necessarily have to put that into the plans just because it was raised, and we can just kind of move it around from place to place. So it was definitely it was a fun experience. And then all of the it was I have a carpenter by the name of Eddie Conti. He's an old guy. He's in his 70s now. And he built out a bunch of bars in the quarter, and I met him while we were dealing with doing stuff over at St. Roch, and I've been using him all the time. He's a typical Yat Trip, and so he's the one who did all of the carpentry work. So it was kind of he and I was helping him move, because again he's in his 70s, so I'm helping him move some of the lumber around. But all of the finished carpentry work, the bench that you sit in along the red wall, all of the front counter that you saw with all the shelving for the retail, all of that stuff, all of that finished carpentry stuff he built out. And so it's kind of fun because it's not quite as he's a character, and I feel like that comes through in all the carpentry work in here. There's a little bit of like interesting fun quirks to it all. But all the countertops and everything we did in a mahogany, and all the tables we did in a mahogany, and polyed them and sealed them and stuff. So it kind of keeps that natural old, woody kind of, old vibe of the place. Really trying to make it more, not trying to make it more homey. I didn't have to make it any more homey. It is a home. But definitely kind of wanted to play to that instead of fight against that. So I think for me, I love it here. It's quite comfortable, and it's anytime, all our reviews are like, it's a great homey coffee shop. And I feel like that was kind of, really the target that we were going for. Do you have a Q&A?
Yeah, absolutely. So Kevin, do you know what year this shotgun was built?
This shotgun was built. I don't know the exact year off the top of my head, but it was built in the 1880s, like late 1880s, 1890, something to that effect. Mm-hmm. Was when it was built.
And it looks like you've obviously, that's so interesting that you say that you rebuilt that wall. I don't know that you would ever guess that coming in. But it looks like you've kept some other original features like the floors and the windows. And is the fireplace also original?
The fireplace, I mean, the brick is original, but not the fireplace, not the wooden mantelpiece. No, we got that off of, I bought that from the bank or Ricca's or something like that. I forget exactly where that came from, but it came from one of those places. No, actually, I'm sorry. I got that off of Craigslist from a guy on Franklin Avenue. That's where that came from. There's a better story than that. That's where that one came from. But the actual, so the doorway and everything is like when you walk from, I can show you this part here. So where you walk from the bar room to the other room, that door frame and everything is original to the house, but it was rebuilt in that spot. So we were able to use different areas. We were able to kind of like piece that transom and everything. So it is original to the house, but it was not originally in that spot. I believe that door frame was actually where that wall is. So we kind of like crisscrossed them just for the sake of keeping the customers along the window wall. And we moved that to that. So we could have like the back wall be that wall. So we just kind of like shifted it back around. But that was when I got involved with the project, that wall here, I mean, this doorway here was kind of laying derelict. I didn't think they were planning on reusing it because they were trying to open it up. But anyway, it's back.
So Kevin, there are a few pieces of this story that I think are really interesting that I'd like to dive into a little bit more with you. Um, Obviously, when you first opened, how long ago did you open the shop?
Yeah, we opened in October, which is yeah. So it was like October 15th. It was like 2 days after the Hard Rock fell. I remember that because I was stuck in Hard Rock traffic when it fell. So it was I know I can it's easily to remember both of those dates. So it's October 15th.
So you selected this location on Magazine Street because it's such a vibrant commercial corridor, I'm sure,
Yeah.
and a historic area. Can you tell us a little bit more about sort of what you love about Magazine Street and why this was the location for you to
I
select, and also where your other locations are and sort of the story of Coast Roast?
Yeah, sure. So the reason we ended up here is before my coffee days, I guess 15 years ago, I worked at Channel 8 News with a guy by the name of Kurt Fromhertz, and his brother is a property manager here in town. And so he had, he's like, man, your brother he's like, my brother wants to hang out, talk to you because he's got this space on Magazine Street he think would be perfect for a coffee shop. So I met Bernard and we was shooting the breeze for a while. And so he's like, I mean, it would be great. And of course, I was like, absolutely not. But after a while, I have to say, Bernard was 100% right. It's a great location for a coffee shop where there's not a lot of, anytime I say, oh, coffee shop on Magazine Street, you kind of, you start to think like, oh, is it really, like how many coffee shops are there on Magazine Street? But we're in a spot on Magazine where there's not, a coffee shop on every corner. So it really sort of made sense to do. And also during that same week, we're near Imperial Woodpecker Snowball Stand. We're a couple of blocks from that business, and Nisa had called me like while I was talking to them, kind of almost in that same week. It was like, hey, you want to like do a pop up in my snowball stand for the winter? And I'm like, you know what, man, it's kind of like two things that are aligning there. I'm like, yeah, I'll do the pop up and feel that neighborhood out. And really, when we did the pop up there, the neighbors were just so pumped to have us here. So that was, I guess, 2 years ago. So it took us a minute, with the speed at which everything works, to actually get it done and get it in. But definitely, it's been cool. Yeah, the store, our other locations, which are currently closed, is in St. Roch Market and Auction House Market. So those we started at St. Roch here in New Orleans when it first opened 5 years ago, and we'll hope to be back there soon. So you may know the brand, from that. So, but we started there, and then we roast over in Long Beach, Mississippi. So I met my business partner Sean over there 12 years ago, and he was roasting in his coffee shop, Bank House Coffee in Long Beach, if you're familiar with it. And so I met him, and we've just been he and I have been selling coffee in various places ever since. So it's been cool. And then we just did a deal where we just did a new CR coffee in the airport. So we're the kind of the only place, we are the only place to get a latte in the airport at the moment. So we're near the Southwest Terminal and Terminal B. So currently you can get the coffee here on Magazine Street or in the airport. And so hopefully, like I said, hopefully the other locations will get back up and functional soon.
So it's interesting. All of your locations, aside from the airport, are in historic, adaptively reused spaces. Is that something that you just are sort of accidentally drawn to, or is that by design?
That's definitely not by design. It certainly is something that has definitely been. You're right. I don't know. You know what? I've never noticed that before, actually. Yeah, definitely. I wanted to do the coffee shop at St. Roch because it was such a neighborhood spot. Sean redid the coffee shop in Bank House. It's an old bank building. He's just kind of drawn to old buildings and old things, and so he likes to tinker with, the old roasters and all that sort of stuff. Uh, I don't think it's by design, but I think it definitely is probably just all naturally part of the brand. So it's really not by design at all. It's just this is you're going to come, you're going to get a coffee that's roasted in an old school sort of way. It's definitely you get to hang out in an old school space. It's and like I said, I think St. Roch is such a cool space because it's a community gathering space of sorts. It's just a great old Certainly one of the most iconic buildings in town. Definitely a place I wanted to be. Yeah, auction, another adaptive reused project. So that was super cool to be a part of. And it's across the street from uh, the old American Coffee Company. So it's directly across the street from an old roasting company that I was dealing with a while back. So that's pretty cool, to be involved in that project as well. So definitely, it's definitely. I don't know. I don't think it. To answer your question, is it by design? No, but is it by design? I guess so. I guess probably.
That's awesome. I mean, there's sort of no denying that you are attracted to historic stuff. If anyone has been to the coffee shop, you would notice, and I think Kevin was talking about this a little bit when his sound was going in and out. You've got a lot of historic coffee roasting paraphernalia around the shop.
Yeah.
Was that stuff that you already had before you started doing this, or have you collected it along the way for this space in particular? How did you come about all of those pieces?
All of those things. Yeah, so some of it definitely was stuff that I had. It's also stuff that's on loan. Some stuff I got from Westfeld Brothers, which is a green coffee importer. They've kind of gave me some stuff on loan, and like say the green coffee sifters that I was showing you before. That's definitely from them. Some of the stuff once you come into the Laura, and I can pull it over my shoulder here. There's a little circular old printout. So the coffee roasters back in the day, before it was all computerized, would have a pen that would actually draw out the roasts, and they're just neat because they're circular. You can see the whole day. They're cool and artistic in a way. So that's some stuff that I had that came out of American Coffee Company that were all like French market roasts that I framed up that just make some really cool art, and then also where is it? If you can see the no, you really can't see it from here, but I'm a brass spittoon back there. So of course, if you're tasting coffee all day long and you're sampling stuff, you don't want to be swallowing it all the time. So the spittoon is actually it's actually made by a old antique coffee roasting company, a company that would make coffee equipment, and that is actually a thing that they also made, was a spittoon. So pretty rare. It's a rare little piece of memorabilia there, if you will. So yeah, it's some stuff that was on loan to me that I was like, man, this would, like say the coffee sifting things. I was like, man, y'all need to loan that to me for a while because that's gonna look just so cool, and it's such an interesting piece. It's something that you don't see that often if you're drinking a cup of coffee. That's certainly way back on the stages of actually getting the coffee made. So you don't see those cool things. And then these things are all antiques. I also have an old antique coffee grinder that's for samples. So it's during the cupping process. It's actually an old antique cupping grinder. And I was going to set that up and use that for our pour overs. Haven't gotten that far yet with the whole COVID thing, but anyway, I have it. I'm going to put it up. So when you come in and you grab, when you get a sample, when you come in and not a sample, when you come in and get a pour over coffee, that we would grind it kind of on that antique grinder. So kind of, change the burrs up and sharpen it up and get it back up to snuff. But as soon as I do, that'll be a pretty cool piece. It'll be behind the coffee bar, but you'll be able to see it while they're making the drinks and stuff. So a really cool piece, just trying to, I don't know, just to drawn to old stuff, I guess.
Kevin, we've had a couple of more questions about the building itself. People are they've checked it out either on Google Maps or Street View, or they've driven by before. So there are a couple of things.
Yeah.
It is a double shotgun. So people are wondering sort of what's on the other side and what the floor plan of this space generally looks like. Also, someone said that it looks like it is a Camelback, and they're wondering what is upstairs now.
Oh, okay, cool. So on the other side is it's a boutique polite society, and they're set up pretty much similar to ours. So we do have a door in between us that closes kind of back in that back room, if you remember seeing that. And so that she has that whole space. It's a clothing boutique store on that side. So we're on one side, they're on the other side. And then the cat, yes, it is a camelback. That is true. And then our this whole project was done at the same time with our neighboring building that Bridal Bliss is in, and it's all apartments in the back. So some of them are rented to Sonder, that are being operated as Airbnbs. For me, in a coffee shop and on Magazine Street in a commercial area, that's fantastic. It's great. So we always have different people coming through, and of course, if you're visiting New Orleans and you're staying in an Airbnb and there's a coffee shop in the building with you, you're going every day. So it's been a fantastic, I should say, source of revenue for us, to kind of have those Airbnbs in the back there. So definitely, however you feel about Airbnbs, it's a commercial space, and I don't think I'd want one next to my house, but it certainly works great for my business.
Thanks. That is helpful. And also, so it segues into the next conversation that I would love to have with you, which is sort of how business is and really what's been going on Magazine Street the past couple of months. I know for myself, I have been out and about infrequently. When I've come to visit with you, there's always been people, a handful of people in and out of the shop. So we would love to hear from you about sort of what you think is going on Magazine Street, if you've talked to any of your fellow shopkeepers, really anything about sort of the personal story of what this looks like and sort of how this impacts historic New Orleans and the historic Magazine Street corridor.
Sure. Yeah. So, this is something I think a lot about too, because of course, like my neighboring businesses come grab coffee all the time, from me on their way to work. And it's definitely, so we never did close this location. Once the markets shut down, the way I kind of saw it is if I was on my computer at home doing work, or I was I was sitting in here by myself, I was still socially distancing, and I had all the cups and coffee sitting around kind of going bad. So we stayed open here. And I think that really helped propel our business here. So a lot of neighbors that may have not made it in really had nothing else to do but come take a walk and get coffee. So that was definitely I don't want to. Definitely our weekday business that helped. However, to get the neighbors through. So people, I think, make us a good, especially right after. It was like people wanted to get out the house. They didn't know where to go. They could walk. Well, let me go walk to the coffee shop, grab a cup of coffee, and go. And at least it gives me a destination. So, and like I was mentioning before, I had our online ordering system set up when we opened, but literally 0 people used it until the whole COVID thing. Now, I would say about 30% to 40% of our business comes in online prior to them the customers showing up here. So I think that has smoothed the process out. And I think people really like that if they're on, because some people still have to go to, a lot of people still have to go to work. So having a place that they can come and grab coffee and quick and feel safe, I think has been very important. You see the fan running above me here. Definitely, moving air is something that is a big deal. So we've been keeping the doors open. We've been adding fans. So we've been trying to make people feel as comfortable as possible. But to talk about what Magazine Street is doing, definitely prior to this, we did a lot more business on the weekends than we're doing now. So, definitely people would come and, shop around on Magazine Street and go, oh, there's a coffee shop, let me grab an iced tea or whatever. I'm definitely seeing, a lot less of that. My neighbor, Polite Society, she hasn't been open too much. She's been having abbreviated hours. Definitely, there's a lot less people just sort of mulling around and shopping on the weekends. So, talking about, and I mean, fortunately, no one, not, well, I shouldn't say no one, but, fortunately, most businesses, have not, that I know personally that come into the shop have not, put up, for lease signs in their places yet. But definitely, that's certainly a thing that I've been noticing, driving and walking up and down Magazine Street. There's definitely a lot more, for lease signs going up. Because if you signed a lease where, if you signed a lease when the business was one number and now your business is a different number, it's definitely tough out here. A lot of our, and like I said, definitely a bunch of the people, uh, varsity sports is a good example. They come in all the time for coffee, and they did a great promotion that I didn't even know about. Whereas like if you bought a pair of shoes, they would buy your coffee for the day, and they took care of everybody's coffee, and that was a huge thing. It wasn't until after that went down that I noticed that. So I'm like, hey man, we need to do more of this. This was great. So it definitely the business community. I'm really happy to be a part of the business community on Magazine Street. I didn't know it was such a tight knit community that really helps each other out, and we've been trying to do promotions and giveaways for our neighbors as well throughout all this. We're definitely going to be doing more of it, so if you're not following us on social media, it's Coast Roast Coffee on Instagram, and you see our coffee shop on Twitter, and just everywhere. See our coffee shop on Facebook. Follow us up on that, because we're really trying to promote kind of everybody's business. So we're going to be doing some giveaways with different businesses, sort of like the Varsity did with us, and just team it up and trying to kind of get the excitement back on Magazine Street. And like I showed you a lot of the things that we've been doing to try to keep customers safe. I think I know every business on Magazine is really going above and beyond to really try to make everyone feel comfortable, to limit the amount of people in the store at any given time, and really to help that that process out. So definitely definitely it's something that's been tough, but it's been a great thing to be a part of.
Yeah, Kevin, that's such an inspiring thing to hear. Obviously the Preservation Resource Center we so strongly believe in historic commercial corridors. We know that they are effective and functional, and they've got this intrinsic value that goes beyond and above the buildings or the individual businesses. It's a whole community, and it's an ecosystem of its own. And so to hear you talk about that, it really it's why it's a big piece of why historic preservation is so important. It's not just the buildings, it's not just the businesses, it's sort of how they all interact and the people that are behind all of them.
Yes, and when you come to the cool part about when you come to Magazine Street, you get to talk to me a lot, you get to talk to the business owners a lot. It's an experience you don't get elsewhere. So if you need a new pair of shoes, or you need whatever it is that you need when you come to Magazine Street, it really it's a different shopping experience. You interact a lot more with the owner of the shop or the manager of the shop. It's a much more intimate experience. If you want to talk about coffee and find a coffee that you like, it's definitely something that you can do here and on Magazine Street. It's not your typical. It's definitely not your big box, retail type of environment. So it's definitely a great thing. If you've never shopped in Magazine Street, definitely Magazine Street needs more people shopping right now. So definitely, like you're saying, the historic buildings, many more for lease and for rent signs go up. That's certainly not keeping those buildings functional for the city. So definitely come out and check out Magazine. It's definitely open.
So I just want to do a quick time check. We have about 10 minutes left, and I've seen a couple of questions come in, but I want to give everyone the opportunity to send your questions in through Q&A now if you would like me to be able to ask them. Kevin and I can chit chat all day, really. So if you don't have any questions, we're happy to just keep doing this, but now's the time if you do want to get them in before 5 o'clock. So one quick question that came in, someone's asking, if the business is called Coast Roast because of your connection with Long Beach.
Yeah, so when I first met Sean, he was like I said, roasting a little bit in his coffee shop, and he was using that as a tagline on his coffee shop. So it was like Bankhouse Coffee, the Coast's Roast, you know. And so when we started the wholesale deal, it kind of spun the wholesale deal off into its own entity as Coast Roast. So that's kind of how the Coast Roast name became a thing.
So did you get into coffee roasting because of your friendship with him, or is this something that you've always been passionate about?
So I got into coffee, and I mentioned we sell a lot of Randazzo's products, and Nana Randazzo's on the North Shore. We sell a lot of their products. I actually was working for them when I was 15 years old, and so boxing donuts and whatnot. So I got my first thought into this sort of retail in bakery retail. And then we started to do more wholesale stuff. So we would supply various coffee shops with pastries and stuff. And so we and king cakes, of course. So we started doing king cakes over at PJ's. And so I would go to, I was an 18-year-old kid at the time. And so I would go from location to location, dropping off king cakes or meeting with the people, meeting with the franchisees. And of course, if I'm sitting down with the franchisees when I was meeting with them about the king cake program or whatever, they'd be like, oh, hey, let's have a cup of coffee. All right. So I'd get a cup, and then I'd go to the next one, and then I would sit down with that person, and I would get a cup of coffee, and it would be very different. And so I didn't understand that different coffees that grow in different regions were tasting different. And so that was sort of my first foray into, or my first introduction into coffee, and of course hanging around there, and this was 20 years ago. Their roaster Felton was the first one who really showed me like green coffee and how that worked. And so I had worked with him to do a coffee for Randazzo's, a special roast for that. So I always had like this little like interest in tinkering with it from that. And it wasn't until I met Sean and he was roasting, and he had an old gentleman by the name of Bruce who was teaching him how to roast. And so I came in with, hey, look, I love this Java. Let's try and roast it a little bit lighter, So he and I really drummed up a friendship over that, because I had a little bit of a background in coffee roasting, enough to drum up a friendship. So that's kind of where I got my first like interest in coffee, and really how much goes into a cup of coffee. And most people just think it comes ground in a can or whatever, but everything that we do is and it's a lot like wine. More people are more familiar with wine at different areas, and different grapes have different flavors. And it's the same thing with coffee. Different coffees that are grown in different regions have different flavors. And so and a lot of what I do today now is, the coffee shops are really fun for me. It's really a fun project. My real job, I always say, is creating coffee, or solving coffee problems for people, and also creating coffee blends. So if you have a coffee shop or a coffee business, or you want to sell coffee retail, or however you want to do it, we would sit down with a bunch of different coffees and talk about the end game, talk about the price point we're trying to hit, talk about the end customer, and really we design coffee blends and roast coffee blends for different people. So and it's been, so that's really what I've been doing for 12 years. That's my real job, I say. The coffee shop, again, is more fun. So I have a brand new medium roast that I'm calling my streetcar blend, and making that blend for myself was such a different experience, because usually I'm trying to hit a target. I'm sitting down with a customer, they have a price point, they have a flavor in mind. We have to sit down and find the coffee on planet Earth that's going to match that particular flavor. And do that job at that price point. So when I was creating my medium roast for here, I didn't have a direction. I was like, wow, I kind of get to make my own blend. It's been weird. I have to keep second guessing myself. I do love the medium roast streetcar blend. I almost drink it every morning now. But I'm second guessing myself, because it's like I get to kind of do whatever I kind of want to do. And so, like I said, the coffee shops certainly are a fun part of the project. But like you said, there's just so many facets to what goes in your cup of coffee. And again, if I'm doing my job right, when you come to CR here on Magazine and you get a medium roast coffee, you don't have to know the year long of work that went into creating that coffee blend. As long as you go, oh, this is a great cup of coffee, then I did my job. So it's definitely something that's that there's a lot of. It's the second largest traded commodity behind oil. So it's definitely it's a much big coffee is a much bigger, more in-depth thing than you realize. Mm-hmm.
So you've brought up a couple of things that I think are really interesting. You were talking about wholesaling with the Randazzos and sort of how that all works, and sort of your life as a coffee problem solver.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Zoom friend, so sorry about that, everyone. So I would love to hear from you a little bit about sort of something that I've been thinking a lot more about than I ever had before is supply chain issues. Has that been impacting you as a small business owner? Or is that something that's sort of not on your radar as a coffee problem right now?
What was that? I'm sorry, I missed you.
Supply chain issues are something that have really been so in the news right now. It's not something that I ever really thought about as a consumer, and I'm not a small business owner. And I'm curious for you if that's something that you sort of see as not only in the coffee world, but in the sort of the small business world on Magazine Street. Is that something that's coming into play?
I don't, I can probably speak more to the coffee world than I can the rest of the retail world on Magazine. Because in the coffee world, when this all started, the producing countries, so Central America, Latin America, Africa, it's all coffee's grown in the tropics. So Central America to Indonesia, all of those places really shipped out a lot of their coffee. So they kind of didn't want to get caught with a bunch of coffee stuck in the producing country. They wanted to get their coffee to the consuming country. So we definitely got a ton of coffee into America. And of course, New Orleans is the second largest coffee importing port in America. So there is a ton of coffee sitting around New Orleans right now. So and of course, as kind of everyone's habits changed, everyone had the types of coffee that were wanted and needed got adjusted. So maybe a coffee that works really well in a grocery store is going to be a lot more needed and sought after since everyone ran to the grocery stores than a restaurant grade coffee. So something that would be used in a restaurant for an after dinner drink or whatnot, or coffee shop graded coffee. A lot of people are not going to sit in coffee shops to drink coffee. So those type of maybe higher end coffees are definitely there's more of those than the grocery store stuff. So it's kind of like everything. It's like everything else. I hate to say pivot and all of that, but it just depends on what the product is. And I would imagine it's sort of the same thing. I can speak because I was talking to Varsity about the running shoes. They're blowing through running shoes like crazy because people get out and are now exercising more, or that's something that they can do. So I think it's going to be an individual business by business basis on what is a supply chain problem and what is not a supply chain problem. Like I said, I'm sure there is, and I'm sure there are things that are sitting around. So it just sort of depends on, kind of just like everyone's habits are changing, definitely, the business is changing. I know a lot of the boutiques I've spoke with, something that I didn't think of, they got their shipment of spring and late winter spring clothes and stuff in, and everything shut down. So they're kind of they're sitting on a lot of that inventory as we go into summer and now fall. They're still kind of got a lot of spring inventory laying around. So it just depends on, I guess, what exact business you're in to be what supply chain thing. But yeah, definitely coffee was, how much coffee am I going to be able to get, into the port was definitely a concern, and also, like I was mentioning before, coming up with the coffee blends. And when I'm making a blend, it's not just about price, it's not just about flavor, it's also about the availability of that coffee. So I'm sitting with a customer, and that customer is going to use X number of pounds a year. I've got to make sure that my supply chain for that particular coffee exists. So it's definitely always in the back of my mind and always a concern. But thankfully, as of right now, the only thing, we put up shades across our outdoor patio to shade the outdoor patio. Outdoor shades are in high demand. That took a while to come in. So different things. But as far as like coffee supply chain stuff, we've been, thankfully, let me knock on wood, we've been good on that.
Thank you, Kevin. So we are up at 5 o'clock. I want to quickly ask you a couple more questions before we have to go.
Sure.
One of our viewers is bringing us back to the actual bricks and mortar of the Shotgun House and would like to know if you replaced any windows or added any insulation in the renovation.
Yes, so it is insulated, and the windows, the windows are all pretty much original except for the ones that got broken during the renovation. So if you come look at the glass, and I'm looking at it now, it's definitely, you got all the old waviness of the glass, which of course I love. And then the insulation. So the cool part about the insulation is we added that like sort of after the renovation. So we were able to, the walls are not insulated, but there's insulation in the ceiling and a spray foam underneath. So we didn't do any of that until we were finished all the mechanics, the plumbing and the AC and all that, all the electrical for the lights that you see. All that stuff was done first, and then we came back with the insulation. So we were operating for about a month or two, I guess, in October and November without any insulation. And then we came back and added the insulation. And so by the time winter came around, we were glad that the insulation was added. And then, of course, now we're totally not even worried about the insulation because we're leaving the doors open, and then it's hot in here. I mean, we're just running the AC. We're just trying to, keep air. I mean, now it's all about, now I don't want to have it all sealed up. I want it to be open and have air moving. So we did that. I added a air curtain on the front door, so that sort of keeps air flowing, keeps air moving, but at least holds some of the cool air in. So we've got that functional now. So that's great to kind of hold as much AC in as possible. I certainly wish there would be a better way to do it. I can't wait for us to be able to close the doors again and keep it more energy efficient. But we did put but the walls are not insulated. But the walls have the old cross beams in them, the old wooden cross beams. I don't know. You may know the official technical term for that, but it's definitely makes it harder to run any new electrical. It's over with now. For you, this is what we've got put in. This is what's done. So even if there was insulation, insulation or no insulation, it doesn't matter. It's not that. But I don't find that the walls are too. I'm sure it would be better with the insulation, but I don't find, especially being a white building, I think it reflects a lot of the heat and stuff. So I think it's still pretty good.
So insulation is certainly a topic that we could spend a few days on, and the PRC has some more information in some of our online classes that are available on our website if you want to go back and look at those. Certainly it's something that we delve into in our education programs. Insulation in a historic building is a tricky topic, and getting it right is it's really a big question. And Kevin's bringing up all the right questions. I mean, there's energy efficiency, but there's also breathability, which has taken on a new life in this COVID era. So I don't want to keep us on that because I know it's after 5 o'clock, and this really is a huge topic that we could write a dissertation on this. So we have one more quick question for you. before we go, and someone in the audience would like to know what your preferred coffee drink is.
My preferred coffee drink, I mean, I guess I'm just so in tune to the coffee itself now that I'm just always drinking my coffee black. I mean, so when people ask me, oh, hey, what do you drink? I say, oh, I drink three things. I drink coffee, iced tea, and red wine in that order. So that's kind of that's my go-tos. You know, if it's 2 p.m., I'm going with an iced tea. If it's, 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm going for my black coffee. And definitely, I know, of course we do more lattes and everything than our black drip, but it's definitely when it's roasted fresh, because everything that you're getting from here, we've roasted fresh, it's coming fresh from here, fresh from our antique machines. It's definitely not as bitter, you don't have any of the things that you want to cover up with the cream or sugar when it's fresh roasted. So it's definitely, and of course splash a little cream or whatever if that's your jam. It's totally cool. But for me, I guess I'm always thinking about the blends. I'm always thinking about the coffee. I'm always thinking about the roast level. That I'm like, I got to where I was like, all right, I just kind of want to spend time with the coffee black now. And when if I throw cream in my coffee just for giggles, it throws me off. There's this other whole complex of flavors kind of going on. I guess I'm paying attention to the cup more, definitely than most people. But just whatever your line of work is, if you're in historic preservation, when you're driving around the city, you're paying attention to the buildings a little bit more. Oh, look what they're doing in that building. Can you believe that? So wherever I get a cup of coffee from, I'm paying attention to kind of the mechanics of what's going on with the cup more so than most people. So I would say that, and again, you're not gonna just like somebody's not gonna think of it in your field like you would their field. For me, it's a black cup of coffee, and I'm paying attention to it. The streetcar blend, does it need a little bit of this, or does it need a little bit of that? Like I'm enjoying it, but what does it need? I'm always kind of sort of thinking about it. So definitely, like I said, black coffee, iced tea, and red wine.
Thank you, Kevin. This has been really fantastic, and we are so appreciative of everything that you've done for PRC and our incredible relationship with you and the coffee shop. So thank you.
And thank you all as well. Yes, absolutely. It's been great, and I love all the old stuff. So y'all are cool.
Thank you to everyone in the audience. Thank you for sticking with us through our technical issues and for joining us today. We hope we'll see you next week for the next installation of Shotgun House Tour next Sunday at 4 o'clock. You can register at prcno.org for the Zoom. And please do consider making a donation to the PRC for our Shotgun House Tour. Again, you can do that at prcno.org. And wherever you are located, whether it is in New Orleans, uptown, or any other neighborhood, or anywhere around the country, please consider supporting your local historic commercial corridor, whatever that is, whatever neighborhood in New Orleans that is, whatever neighborhood in your city that is. Please consider supporting those businesses. They are part of our historic character across the United States, and the Preservation Resource Center is so grateful to the small business owners who have supported us for so many years in so many ways. And we know that they're really a part of our historic neighborhood and the historic character of this city. So thank you to our small business owners for sticking with it. And we hope that all of our preservationists out there will stick with them. So thank you, everyone, and have a good Sunday.
Take care.